Hello and welcome to our video presentation. Today we will be discussing the applications of the book Great by Choice by Jim Collins to the efforts of the IBC. To start, let's briefly recap the three core behaviors of the 10X companies. 10X companies operate with fanatic discipline, empirical creativity, and productive paranoia. The unifying element of all of these characteristics is what Jim Collins terms as Level 5 ambition, and we will discuss that concept more in depth in just a minute. But first, we will look at each of the three core behaviors. To start out with, we have fanatic discipline. In short, fanatic discipline is having extreme focus through consistency of action to achieve the greater goal. It requires doing whatever it takes. And for example, we have a picture of Shrek and the donkey, and these characters encapsulate fanatic discipline because they were so focused on their quest of getting Shrek's swamp back by going to rescue the princess from the fire-breathing dragon in the storyline of Shrek the movie. And they just serve as a good application point for the concept of fanatic discipline. Moving on to the next core behavior, we have empirical creativity, and that directs that you base decision-making off of calculated risk and not other typical and mediocre sources of guidance. Empirical creativity requires data, which is oftentimes found through scientific means. So take, for example, Thomas Edison and his invention of the light bulb. He created many different inventions and held over 1,000 patents. He looked to experimentation and different observations in order to create some of his greatest inventions like the light bulb. And that process took the evidence, experimentation, and observation, which are characteristic of empirical creativity. Moving on to our final core behavior, we have productive paranoia, which is hypersensitivity to the surrounding business conditions and resulting proactivity to maintain the company's level of success. And an example of this concept is the picture of the Ice Age squirrel, because the Ice Age squirrel was so aware of the coming Ice Age that he took action and he gathered nuts so that he would be prepared and he would not die off during the Ice Age because he would have a food supply. So, all three of these behaviors are connected by the idea of Level 5 ambition, which we briefly touched on before. And Level 5 ambition is an audacity that places one's motivation for their work within the company beyond themselves. A person who has Level 5 ambition is motivated by something bigger than themselves, and this ambition is key because it unifies all three characteristics of 10X success. And all of these concepts that Jim Collins outlines in Great by Choice are highly applicable to the IBC. But first, let's look at how fanatic discipline is the IBC's strongest characteristic and behavior. So in IBC, we have deemed this characteristic to be our strongest because of the fact that the IBC has and is establishing discipline that will make sure that we have a great focus on the end goal, which is glorifying God through creating a profit that we can then donate to a charity. And what we consider to be our middle behavior is the productive paranoia, because of the fact that aside from the finance personnel within the IBC overall tends to be more optimistic. We are current students at Cedarville, which is our primary target market and environment, and our position amidst our own target market allows us to be hypersensitive and proactive. So we then try to use the information that we have gathered from our position in order to take action to capitalize on the opportunity. And we would consider our weakest behavior within the IBC to be empirical creativity. It is our weakest because of the fact that we do have a lot of room to be creative, but at the end of the day, we often look to our professors for too much guidance. We also look at previous years of IBC just to see how we can improve on those years, which isn't a bad thing inherently, but ultimately creativity, and especially data-driven creativity, has been the greatest struggle for us to overcome so far. So, to turn our weakness into a strength, we have come up with the following suggestions for the IBC. Although we have concept tested and we have been concept testing that we have gathering from students, we have not totally offered or asked for suggestions of what the students actually would want as a product. We have given them individual ideas that we as IBC have come up with ourselves, but perhaps empirical creativity should start with taking the form of a broader question that we would ask students, so that we then are not limiting the student body from sharing the product ideas that they might prefer. While the professors and previous IBCs can provide great insight and help, we need to ultimately remember that we have been blessed with the opportunity to continue to revolutionize the IBC, and IBC 2015 is its own entity. But in conclusion, we must remind ourselves of the IBC's focus, and that is glorifying God in all that we do. Nothing else should ever come before that.